good evening, everybody, and welcome back to YouTube. We are here for round number 7 of the Simabilty Racing Just Legends series. These cars carry history, and every lap demands precision. The margins are tight, the racing is real. Welcome to round number 7. We're at Lucas Oil Raceway Park, where you're going to see perhaps 4, even 5 wide racing out of these cars. And even though the field isn't that big, the draft is very strong here. So look for these cars to be running in packs and look for a lot of wheel-to-wheel action.
Think you can't race? Think again. Simabilty is breaking barriers and making sim racing accessible for drivers with disabilities. We're a welcoming iRacing league open to racers with disabilities, along with their friends and supporters of all abilities. Our members represent a wide range of skill levels and experience, from first-timers to seasoned competitors. This is a place to connect, compete, and most importantly, have fun. Racing isn't just about speed, it's about the freedom to compete. At Simabilty, we believe every driver deserves a spot on the grid. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for exciting battles, competitive racing, and great friendships. Join the Simabilty Racing League today.
Good evening, folks. We are going to be joining our broadcast here of the Simabilty Just Legends Racing League a couple laps into the event due to technical difficulties. So we're going to go over the starting order as they ran when we came in, which begins with the Rustmobile of Stephen Kiefer, and then the number 16 of Don Fisher, who during the later parts of the broadcast will have a different paint job due to people changing paints after the race, and the beginning being shot in tape delay. So please do forgive us for that, but there's Don Fisher, then the 23 of Tom Johnson, the 8 of Nate Anderson, and I recall he was running a Gulf oil paint job, so we'll get a look at that after we get everything back up to speed. Behind there is Dalton Williamson in the number 1, then Jordan Martin in the number 12, the 32 of Billy Wise, the 87 of Andrew Smith, and his father Thomas Wise, and Johnny Berardi, who had internet difficulties and got a start around the time our broadcast does. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, and bring you the rest of the race. Please enjoy. Back. This is lap number 2 going into lap number 3 with Stephen Kiefer out front in the Rustmobile and Don Fisher just behind him. As these cars have been in a very tight pack today, running 2 and sometimes even 3 wide in the corners. These cars drive a little differently here than the stock cars, as you might notice coming through the corners. These guys are able to get down to much lower grooves than the big cars, and they are making quite a lot of use of that as Fisher takes the lead, and that's going to turn over second to possibly Tom Johnson. He's going to get a bit of momentum here. Looks like he pulls Kiefer off that corner, and he's going to bring Williamson with him. And Williamson started deep in the field today. He's already passed 4 cars, and he's looking to pass another here. As lap 4 goes away. This is a 125 lap event, so these guys are going to be wanting to make sure that their fuel numbers are okay. You might see a few people kind of hanging back early on, as well as their tires. And tire temp, very important here today. These tires are heating up a lot when drivers come down off that middle line. And we've already seen a couple of them try to mow the lawn, in 3 and 4 especially. Another lap in the books, and another position changing hands. That is Andrew Smith in the 87 getting by Kiefer. So Kiefer backsliding now. Looks like he has lost 4 spots, and Smith, meanwhile, is on the move heading up. So keep an eye on him as he goes after the 23 of TJ. That's Tom Johnson there in the Fireball machine. And boy, he is getting that car right down on the bottom, Andrew Smith is. 87 Smith takes third. And he is going to clear Tom Johnson. Meanwhile, these top two out front, Don Fisher and Dalton Williamson, probably trying to make a break for it. As the draft is pretty strong in these cars, these guys are going to want to stay as close to the car ahead as possible. But if you get 2 or 3 wide in the cars ahead of you or single file, you can just drive away, as we're seeing those front two starting to do. Nate Anderson getting a little scrappy. He starts to poke his nose into that battle between TJ and Kiefer. And we have seen Johnson and Kiefer at this all season long. Usually wherever we point the camera, the two of them are going at it for position. So it's good to see that tradition continuing. As Andrew Smith takes a little bit of a sniff at Dalton Williamson there. That's not quite going to work just yet, but he's keeping his mind open. As the top 4 now get single file. Looks like the top 7 are single file. Back to Jordan Martin, who is still within the... Oh, boy. Things are happening. Let's go back up front as Andrew Smith takes a look at Fisher. Williamson takes the lead. And that is going to allow Williamson to get out front. Looks like he may be there to stay. So we're going to take a quick look at how that happened. And we'll be right back. Here is that pass for the lead. Williamson was already down on the inside, and he just manages to get a hole shot going into one, and Smith comes right along with him. You'll see Williamson slide up in front of the 16, so we'll get back to where we were live.
Hey Jacob, where would be a really cool place to see one of our Simabilty products?
How about the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina?
So big thanks to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and going above and beyond in setting up this ADA compliant simulator, and thanks for choosing Simabilty.
So we're currently on lap 11 with Andrew Smith taking a look at your leader there, and it did not pay off running that bottom line. He is going to lose another position, possibly to Stephen Kiefer, who seems to have rallied. Smith gets in deep into turn number 3, and he is up to the back tire of the 16. He's going to be alongside him here. No dice, though. It looks like Dalton Williamson will hold on to the lead. And second, just as I thought, Fisher is going to slide back through there, and Smith gets a little bit out of shape and almost gives up that spot to Kiefer. Kiefer working the outside, holding tight, and he is going to have the 3rd position coming across the stripe. Smith not giving up yet, though. He is getting very deep into the corner on the inside. Looks like he hit that seam where the banking transitions and got out of shape there. He's going to lose 2 spots trying to gather it up. Great job saving that car, as now Fisher is really starting to get a little bit more insistent up front. Top 4, you could throw a blanket over them with 2 more lurking behind. Currently, all but 1 car on the lead lap. The one 2 laps down is the 99X of Johnny Berardi, who does our editing work here on the YouTube channel. Hats off to Johnny for that. He got started 2 laps late and has a huge mountain to climb at this point in the race, as we now have a 5-car breakaway. Anderson starting to fall off a little bit. Meanwhile, further back, Billy Wise and Jordan Martin still going at it. Wise currently has the spot. Martin trying to dip down low to get under him, but he is going to need a big head of steam from draft to do much with that. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's looking like it's about to be 6 cars under a blanket. Zoom out here for a moment, and you can see back here these 2 still going at it. Martin's been really plastered down to that bottom side, while Billy Wise is up there in the stock car line against the wall. Martin takes another run at him, and this one looks to have paid off. Martin up to his spot. Let's try that again. Jordan Martin up a spot. Alrighty, so the top three here, or top six here, are getting a little bit scrappier. And it's still pretty early in the race, so you would expect them to be a little more patient at this point, but these guys came here to race. They did not come here to sit around. And as tempting as it may be to try and open a gap up this early, a lot of the drivers want to be the car at the front of the train when that gap opens. Currently, the fastest lap of the race has been set by that number 23, the Fireball machine of TJ, back there in 5th. That was a 25.503, which is hauling the mail in a legend car to track this big. Here comes Nate Anderson. He tries to get under him, and meanwhile up in front of them, Andrew Smith gets out of shape. Anderson ends up falling back, and now TJ is in a good spot to try and make up a position on Smith. Currently 9 minutes into this race, so we're still pretty early on, but drivers are beginning to find their pace. Let's look a little bit further back here at Jordan Martin and Billy Wise again. I want to show you something interesting with these cars, which is that in a stock car you are running all the way up around the wall, all the way around here, and we were talking about this earlier with the number 12 of Martin just diving down to the inside. You can absolutely do that here in a legend car, especially with the right setup. Some of these drivers are using some hot rod setups, but I do know for a fact that third place Stephen Kiefer, for instance, is on the default iRacing setup for this track, so that setup is very competitive here, which is a bit of a rarity, I'll say, for a lot of these races. As we've got a little bit of a battle brewing back here. Anderson underneath Smith, and this time it's Anderson who hits the seam and gets a little loose. They're coming up on the lapped car of Johnny Berardi right now, and these top three have absolutely gotten away from the rest of the pack just by staying single file, which is pretty important to do here. And these two here have kind of lost Nate Anderson, so he may end up falling back into the clutches of Jordan Martin and Billy Wise if he's not able to get a draft off of the two of them. So let's go in car for a moment. We'll go for a ride with Stephen Kiefer. So you can see these two are right on each other up in front of him, and this is kind of what you have to do to get a gap here at Lucas Oil IRP. You've really got to stay right in somebody's tire tracks. So if we zoom in here a little bit, it's kind of like that form of improv where you try to copy what the other person is doing exactly. It's not easy, but if you do it, it can really pay dividends on these bigger drafting tracks for these fast little cars. Their lines are just a little bit different, but not too much. You can see Fisher get right back in line behind him here. As they come out of the corner, they'll really get up on each other's bumpers, and Fisher's going to have to back out of it just a little bit to make sure that there isn't any contact between him and Williamson at the front. So right now, Kiefer hopefully trying to do the same. You can see he's running a little bit higher than the two of them, but he chases them down the banking coming out of the corner. And that is going to be what it takes for him to stay up front and for all of these guys to be able to continue to take the rest of the field to Gapplebee's. Up ahead of him as we cross for lap number 29 is going to be Tom Johnson in the 23. Then Andrew Smith all by himself right now, which is not where you want to be on this track. And back up to that top three. So that's everyone as they run at the moment. And you can see a little bit of that mimicry I talked about with these two here, even from up here in the tower. Their lines are not identical, but they're close enough. And I notice Kiefer is running just a little bit higher than the two of them. As long as he can keep at least half of his car in their draft, he is going to be all right. As they inch up a little closer to Berardi. Berardi there in the 99X was the fastest car in practice for the majority of the session, only knocked off the top of the board in the final 5 or 10 minutes. So it is a real shame he could not get out here for the start. They are coming up on him in a hurry, too. That is quick enough to suck the helmet off your head. Berardi yields down low and gives plenty of room for that lead pack of 3. We'll see if he can tag on to the back of it and make some time up. He might actually be able to pass a few cars for position if he's able to stay up with this lead pack and if the race stays green. See, Kiefer looks to be losing a little bit of ground on these two, and that has got to be stressful when you're back there trying to make something happen. Fortunately, on those straightaways, as you can see, that car really sucks up on the back of the 16, and that shows that he is well within drafting range still. Berardi trying to hold on to that draft as well. He is nearly out of drafting range, and I'm not so sure he's going to be able to keep up. He's trying, but he's running a much different line. And he was throughout practice, too. He was kind of marching to the beat of his own drum, and it certainly worked when all the cars were spread out and on their own, but it is very, very difficult to do much as a single car on a track this big with legends. So the field is spreading out overall other than those top two, and to a lesser extent Kiefer. Berardi also joining onto the back of that. But as we see up here, Thomas Wise, the next car who is in threat of going a lap down, is by himself, which is absolutely where you do not want to be. Now, he might get up there and catch up with his son Billy. The two of them may be able to draft, but I don't know if that's going to happen before the leaders catch up. Up ahead of them, Anderson back at it again. And he takes a big, big dive to look at TJ. Should also note that Martin dropped out of the race a couple of laps ago. I do believe he spun coming out of turn number 2 and ended up parking the car in the pits. Smith has been having quite an up and down day there in the number 87 as Anderson gets close to TJ. Smith was as high as 3rd earlier on. He's had a lot of trouble dealing with the banking transitions in turn 2. And if you hit those just wrong and have 2 tires on one part of the banking and 2 on another, the car will rotate on you, and it will rotate in a hurry, especially under throttle as Anderson gets the fence. They're cutting it close. He is trying to use every inch of the racetrack to do something with these 2 cars up ahead of him. Oh, Smith hits the banking again! And that banking transition is trying to absolutely wreck that car. Smith doing everything he can to keep it on the track. And he's going to give a little, or Anderson's going to give a little bit of a bump to TJ there to give him some extra speed going into the corner. TJ says, wham bam, thank you, man. And he is going to get a nice run as we have big, big problems right behind that. Look like Nate Anderson and Andrew Smith both running out of real estate. Anderson's going to get the car underway again, and it looks like no yellow. Oh, and there is the yellow. So let's go back and take a closer look at that, kind of see what transpired here to put us under the caution. So as they come out of the corner here, we're going to go to super slow-mo. Look at Anderson. That car is dirt tracking out of there. The left front wheel in the air for a moment as he tries to gather that thing up. And he is going to correct it to the right here. And unfortunately, Andrew Smith was there. Neither driver really had much they could do there. Maybe Smith could have been closer to the wall, but I honestly think Anderson's car was already enough out of control that he would have spun up into Smith. So that's going to shake things up quite a bit as two of the top cars taken out of this event, and that whole huge uh, deficit that Tom Johnson had behind the lead cars is going to go away. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll rejoin the original recording of the broadcast for the remainder of the race. We'll
Bring
see
your
you
driver
there.
to life with custom-designed racing hero cards. Perfect for fans, sponsors, autograph sessions, and race day promotions. High-quality design, personalized layouts, and attention to every detail that makes your brand stand out.
Think you can't race? Think again. Simabilty is breaking barriers and making sim racing accessible for drivers with disabilities. We're a welcoming iRacing league open to racers with disabilities, along with their friends and supporters of all abilities. Our members represent a wide range of skill levels and experience, from first-timers to seasoned competitors. This is a place to connect, compete, and most importantly, have fun. Racing isn't just about speed, it's about the freedom to compete. At Simabilty, we believe every driver deserves a spot on the grid. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for exciting battles, competitive racing, and great friendships. Join the Simabilty Racing League today.
And we're back on lap number 68. Green flag is out, and we have Fisher out front as Williamson actually stopped and took tires. Smith shakes out in second, almost gets the fence there on the restart. And it's Tom Johnson who's run the fastest lap of the race so far, and Williamson your top four. Back from there, we got a spinner. Berardi's around, and we're going to have another yellow flag. That's great news for Stephen Kiefer, who is going to be the lucky dog and get back on the lead lap. We'll be back. We are 10 laps past halfway, and the number 16 of Don Fisher out front with Andrew Smith second, Dalton Williamson, Tom Johnson, Billy Wise, Stephen Kiefer, Nate Anderson, Thomas Wise, and Johnny Berardi. The top six are on the lead lap. Seventh is one lap down, eighth is 3 laps down, and so is ninth. So we are bunched up. We are past halfway. This is a 125 lap race. We are coming to lap 73 here on the restart. And here they come up through the gears. Running way down on that flat is Fisher, and he is going to get a fantastic start. We saw him get a lot of those at New Smyrna. No one could touch him, but this time Andrew Smith absolutely touches him as they go down into turn one. Not physically, but perhaps mentally scarred him, because that was one heck of a move. Absolutely making that car stick on the bottom as he goes again after Fisher. They are wheel to wheel off turn number 4. And Smith's going to lead this lap. Here comes Williamson. He's going with Smith on the bottom. TJ to the top. He's going to try and follow Fisher. Got 7 cars under a blanket here. That is the top 7 as they run on the track, I do believe. Smith making his presence known as Fisher goes all the way up into the stock car line on the top. He's now falling into the clutches of Dalton Williamson, who's going to go way, way down to the bottom and try to slide up in front of him. And he does, but Fisher's going to end up with a big run. Oh, and there goes Smith getting really loose. 2 tires in the grass down the backstretch. He saves it. I don't know how, but he did. They're looking to go 3, maybe 4 wide back here for the 4th position. Smith is going to hold on to it as lap 76 goes away. Boy, we're getting into some very interesting stuff further back here. That is Billy Wise and Stephen Kiefer. and both of them got a little bit out of shape there, and that's allowed some of the other lap down cars to get right back in their tire tracks. And we've got a big draft going now. And these drafts, that's what these legend cars are all about on these bigger tracks. If you lose it, you lose the race in most cases. So these guys really do want to stay in that pack. And once again, it's very hard to do when you're side by side, but it's also hard to do when the car in front of you is too slow to keep up with the car in front of him. So you really have to be judicious with your passing, but you also can't necessarily park behind somebody if you don't think they're going to get up to the leaders. So as we saw very early in the race, 3 black cars showing the way. 1, 16, and 87. That's Williamson, Fisher, and Smith. Back from there is Anderson, who's currently 1 lap down in the lucky dog position. There was another swap further back for 8th place. Johnny Berardi got around Thomas Wise and took that away. Coming up on lap number 80 of 125. Look at that draft between Fisher and Williamson. These two got away early in the race, way out in front with Stephen Kiefer until, and this time Andrew Smith is trying to keep up with the two of them. A lot of experience in these legend cars up at the front of this field. Don Fisher, for his part, only runs the legend car here on iRacing, so he knows these things pretty well, and he certainly knows how to set one up. He's provided setups for a lot of the members of this league free of charge, which is extremely sportsmanlike and provides for much tighter racing at the front. And Williamson, of course, his I rating is probably the highest in the league with a 4.3K. And if you know what that means, you can tell why he's out front. But, yeah, there may be a lot of experience up front, but there is a lot of hunger further back. Those 2 cars up front have won most of the races this season, especially Williamson. Fisher won the season opener as we go 3 wide into turn number 1. Hold your breath for a moment. Looks like everybody's going to be okay. And I don't think either TJ or Kiefer want to stay behind that number 8 car. And that's not really Nate's fault, it's just he's a lap down, and these two are trying desperately to get back up into that lead pack before it gets out of range. And it looks like both of them are going to slip by. Kiefer's going to have some momentum to deal with here as the AMR Gulf Oil number 8 gets out in front of him. And Anderson goes up towards the top. Kiefer's going to have to settle for riding behind him for now. Meanwhile, these top 3 are much closer now, running directly in each other's tire tracks. And you kind of have to play mime here. You have got to copy the other cars in front of you. Mime is a bad example. I don't think anybody likes those, but it's the best word I could think of. We are coming out of turn number 4 here with your top 3, nose to tail. Smith following a little bit back, and then Tom Johnson, who is now starting to reel those guys in just a little bit, as Andrew Smith has now run the fastest lap of the race right before getting loose out of 2. That was a 25.462. By far the fastest lap we've seen under green flag racing conditions today. Unfortunately, he loses a spot to TJ. And now we've got 4 cars trying to work together to catch 2 cars. Well, right as I say they're trying to work together, Smith makes that inside move again. And as you saw in the restart, he can get it to stick down there. It can get mighty sketchy down there with how little banking there is, but he's gotten that car to get around down there. And you know the old adage, you can't pass him by following him. He is proving that today. He'll dip right down there almost into the apron if he needs to make a pass. So now we've got 2 cars out front, 3 cars in the second pack with a 4th. Uh-oh, Anderson goes for a spin, hits the wall. The car's hurt, but he's going to continue on, and there is no yellow. And that is a tough break for Anderson, as he was running up there with the lead pack. He was in the lucky dog position. He still technically is, but if he knocked the handle out of that thing, he might lose some laps. As we've got a position battle going on. This is third, fourth, and fifth. And these three have been battling all season long. Smith, Kiefer, and Johnson. They're thinking about going 3 wide. They're considering it. It's going to be sketchy, folks. They might just do it. We did 4 wide on Monday, so I wouldn't put it past these guys here on Wednesday, as there was perhaps a little contact there between Kiefer and Smith. No harm, no foul, they keep going, but Kiefer actually was able to make the pass. Smith, right in his tire tracks, dives back down to the bottom with momentum and doesn't quite make the move yet. It looks like he got a little spooked there. And these things, with how loose they are and how willing they are to get out of shape, if you bump somebody, like it looks like the two of them might have made a little bit of contact, it can send you for a spin. So I can definitely see why he might have backed out a bit there. Moreover, if he wants to stay in line, this is a good car to work with, as Kiefer was part of that lead pack earlier with Williamson and Fisher. And we saw it work quite well for him, so now he's leading his own little pack here. And we're going to keep an eye on those intervals. Williamson and Fisher continuing to lead here in the all-black car and the black car with white wheels. Then it is this little pack of 3, Kiefer, Smith, and Johnson we were just talking about earlier. Smith a little loose again. He holds on to it, but that's going to allow TJ to get by. And they're kind of wheel to wheel here going through 3 and 4. Smith is going to pull him. And TJ settles back in behind him. We'll see if TJ makes a move going into 1. Not yet, but he's thinking about it. As Smith slides wide, TJ comes on through the gap. So TJ takes over 4th and is trying to now run down Stephen Kiefer. And that interval is growing between those front 2 and these second 3. If they cannot get in line, they are not going to catch up. So it looks like Fisher falling a bit back off of Williamson there. As we've got a yellow coming out again. Looks like Berardi goes for a spin on the backstretch. That's great news for Nate Anderson. Bad news for Berardi, who loses that 8th position. So we're going to re-rack them, restack them, and be right back.
Hey, Jacob, where would be a really cool place to see one of our Simabilty products?
How about the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina?
So, big thanks to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and going above and beyond in setting up this ADA compliant simulator, and thanks for choosing Simabilty.
And we're getting ready to go green here. There are going to be 26 laps to go at the stripe, so this is getting down to a normal length Legends car race. There are 7 cars in the lead lap. Williamson, Fisher, Kiefer, Johnson, Smith, the top 5. As we go green, and Williamson gets another fantastic start. Everybody behind him is going to have to really work together to get back up there. And that's going to be tough to do as they scramble through turn 1. Watching the 22 and the 23, as well as the 87. And these 3 have been battling all race long. They are 3 wide. They're touching. They're 4 wide. They're touching again, and into the wall goes TJ. He comes down. Berardi gets a piece of it, and he's almost in the air. Yellow flag comes out as several cars slide and wreck to a stop on the front straightaway, and that happened really fast. We're going to have to go back and take a look at that one. So you see these cars working their way down the backstretch, and Smith gets a heck of a run going in there. I don't know if TJ knew they were 3 wide as he committed to his line. Kiefer really didn't have much of a choice there, and then when Billy Wise stuck his nose up there, he just ended up in the wrong neighborhood, wrong place at the wrong time. Berardi wheel hops And look at this, folks. It's a flying race car. He was fortunately able to keep it on its wheels, although he did end up on top of TJ. He already had the tires burning, and when he hit the ground, he was moving. So that is pretty rough. That's going to change a lot of drivers' fortunes. We'll once again re-rack them and restack them and be back at them. 15 laps to go as we get ready to go back to green, and you can see the damage to the front of Tom Johnson's car there. Looks like it was mostly the bumper, but some of that may have gotten the right front wheel, and if it did, he may have some alignment issues there that we'll want to keep an eye on. Currently still 7 cars in the lead lap, then Thomas Wise 1 lap down, Johnny Berardi 3 laps down after missing the first 2 laps of the race. Getting ready to go green here. And Williamson has been on top of it with these restarts. He is once again. Fisher reads him a bit better though, and so does Andrew Smith. In fact, Smith actually is going to be, as they cross the stripes, second. We'll see if he can hold on to that on the bottom there. And he does for now. Yep, he's going to get up in front of him, and looking further back, now Billy Wise is going after TJ. TJ working the top, Billy Wise working the middle, almost contact there. So they're side by side again, and Fisher going for second as well. All the way down there on the bottom, almost on the flat. See if he can make that work. And it sticks pretty well. There's still a little bit of momentum on the straightaway that favors the outside. But as far as an inside move goes, that came out pretty well as he tries again here on 3 and 4. He tries to get up in front of Kiefer, but Kiefer is there. I don't know how those two saved it, but they managed to. That could have been a very, very bad moment for the two of them as Smith gets out of shape. And I think a car has hit the wall on the front stretch. I can't find it. I heard it. Couldn't find it. So we go back to the lead battle. Coming out of turn number 4, that is the 87. Smith on the inside. So he currently sits third. Just behind Fisher, and he's going to get the fence. Here comes Kiefer with a huge head of steam off turn 2. He checks up a bit earlier than the 87. That may give him a little bit more speed on exit, though. Is it enough to get next to Smith? No. Kiefer lurking, using that draft as Smith starts to catch back up to Fisher. Fisher over-rotating just a little bit there, center off. Looks like he was able to hold on to the car, though. And we are winding down to the end of this thing. There are 10 laps to go. Working together is still something that these drivers may need to do, but as that lap time, as there are less laps to go, I should say, it's going to get harder and harder to rationalize that when you get a massive run on the car in front of you going into the corner. So the leaders may not play nice anymore. I'm certain that that second pack of 4 isn't going to be playing very nice. And things are about to get wilder than they already were. Currently, that is your top 6. That is the lead battle. All of these cars on the lead lap. One of Williamson showing the way. The 16, the 87, the 22, 23, and 32 are your top 6. You can see them flying in formation down into turn number 1 here. We are on lap number 118 of 125. Now everybody's waiting to make that move, and it's going to really depend on who makes it first and if anyone else is brave enough to go with them. If I had to pick right now, I'd say it's probably going to be Andrew Smith moving to the bottom here in a couple laps when he gets enough of a run. As it looked like the number 3 of the Elderwise, Thomas, went around. No yellow. He gets the car going again. And Fisher thought about it and then thought better of it. It's not quite time yet. Kiefer and Johnson also starting to get a little scrappy again, and those two have been racing hard this entire event. Along with Smith, as time has gone on, those three have really been at each other's throats all night long. Fisher enters a little lower than before. Now, that could have been a defensive move, or it might have just been what the car wanted to do, but that definitely stopped Andrew Smith's advance as he was getting a great run down the front straightaway. Off of turn 4, TJ looking underneath Kiefer again. And cannot quite get beside him yet. Momentum does favor the outside car, and Kiefer's going to hold that spot. Really running low on laps now. This is going to be lap 123 going away. There are 3 laps to go at this point. And these guys probably chewing on their steering wheels. It's very hard to be patient at this point in the race, especially when you know you've got a fast race car under you. Two to go at the stripe. Top 6 still in formation. It's starting to break up a little bit from 4th back as TJ is getting ready to make some moves here, trying to get past Kiefer. He's running a little bit lower than Kiefer, and that might just be his line, but it's certainly... Oh, Smith! Hang on to it, buddy! Hang on to it! Yes, he saves it! Unfortunately for him, that's going to put him out of this battle for the final few laps here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this should be, and it is, the final lap. So if Fisher's going to make a move, if anybody's going to make a move, now is the time. And Fisher's going to get a bit of a run coming down the backstretch. Where's he going to go? Top? Bottom? He goes to the top. Williamson stays at the top. And Fisher's going to try and turn down the track, but it is just not going to happen for him, as Williamson is going to come across the line first. So it just too little too late, unfortunately, for Fisher. He had a pretty solid run going there down the backstretch, but I think about the only move that he could have really made there was what he did. And unfortunately for him, just not enough momentum to keep up with Williamson, who has been undefeated in these past several races. So Williamson, Fisher, Kiefer, TJ, Billy Wise, Andrew Smith, Nate Anderson, Thomas Wise, Johnny Berardi, and Jordan Martin are your finishing order. So that is going to be it for us here from Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. I hope you all had fun watching this, as much fun as we've had bringing it to you. So for Johnny Berardi, this is Leilani Wilson. We'll see you next time.